Welcome to Suffolk Business Today. I'm your host, Gregory Bird, and we'll begin today's program by talking with the owner of Skydive Suffolk, where we'll see if we can find out why people jump out of perfectly good airplanes. Later, we'll learn a little bit about some new spirits by visiting C3 Vino. We'll start the show right after this brief break. Welcome back to Suffolk Business Today. We're joined by Larry Pennington, owner-operator of Skydive Suffolk. Thank you for having us, Larry.
Certainly. Glad to be here.
So tell our viewers, if you will, tell us a little bit about Skydive Suffolk, what you do here.
Well, we've had skydiving here at Suffolk Airport since in the 60s. I took command of the place in 1983, and we teach people how to actually jump out of an airplane.
Now, what are some of the stories you've heard? Why do they do it?
Why do they do it? Well, I guess the main reason is the door's open, you know, and it's usually on their bucket list.
I see. All right. Well, what about your staff here? I know that you've got quite a few people that help you bring all this together. Mm-hmm. How many people do you have working for you?
We have approximately 21 contractors here, and I am very blessed with the fact that I can choose with the amount of personnel that I have. I can pick and choose the best of the best.
Indeed. Well, what are some of the jobs that they have here?
All right. If you work here at Skydive Suffolk, you have to have passed all the instructor and training requirements of the United States Parachute Association, and most of our instructors have over probably close to 1,000 jumps.
My goodness. Well, how many, I was reading a little bit about your background. I understand you've been in this business now for over 30 years. How many jumps does that entail for you?
Let's see, 30 years. I've got a little over 11,000 jumps right now.
11,000 jumps.
11,000. Out the door, 11,000 times.
Well, that's quite interesting to say the least. I'm not sure if any of our viewers are anxious to join you to try to catch up to that number.
Sure they do.
But tell us more about the tools of the trade. Obviously, parachutes. If I think back, John Wayne days, you know, the movies that we've seen, those round parachutes, and now today we see just a variety. What are you using for your jump?
Well, back in the day, a round parachute, a person coming out to make a skydive had to endure equipment that weighed up to 60 pounds. And a round would allow you to land safely, but the type of parachutes that we use now are called ram air, and they fly through the air at approximately 25 miles per hour, and they can cover up to 3 to 4 miles.
Oh my goodness.
Absolutely.
Well, speaking of weight, you mentioned, you know, the parachute's about 60 pounds. So how much are these parachutes today?
The parachutes today range anywhere from 18 to 25 pounds.
And also, I believe I was reading that there is a weight requirement for the individual. What's the limit for someone that would want to skydive?
Well, you have to be 18 years old, you have to be in reasonably good health, and weighs no more than 230 pounds.
230 pounds.
230
okay.
pounds.
Okay. Well, what about the aircraft itself? What type of aircraft do you use?
We have a plane here that's called a PAC 750. It's the first plane that was ever built for skydiving. It was built in New Zealand. There's only 6 in the U.S. right now, mm-hmm. and Skydive Suffolk was one of the first to have those.
Well, that's wonderful. Now, Also, in my little background research, you know, I've looked into you a little bit, Larry. Understand that there's more than one type of skydiving. Like if I came over today and my wife would let me, I'm going to jump out of this plane because it's my next birthday or whatever the case may be.
Right.
What are my options for type of skydiving?
A type of skydiving, you can do what's called a tandem skydive. That's when you and I jump as a team. You and I are hooked by a harness. So you're in the front of me. I'm wearing the parachute. We go out of the plane at 13,000 feet. We do a 60-second free fall.
Wait a minute. How high are we?
13,000 feet.
13. I just wanted to be clear.
It's
okay.
Just a couple miles.
Just a couple miles.
Just a couple miles. You know, nothing far. All right. 60-second free fall. I will deploy the parachute for you at 5,000 feet, and you and I as a team, will fly it back to our landing area.
About how long would it take us to get to the ground?
Well, once again, from 13,000 feet to 5,000 feet takes about 60 seconds. And then from 5,000 feet to the surface takes about 5 minutes.
That's quite a ride, quite a ride. So,
oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
Roughly how many people do you have each year that come and decide to jump out of this perfectly good airplane?
Perfectly good airplane, absolutely. We have approximately, last year we did just a little over 14,000 slots here. A slot being one person on the plane.
I think one last question then I'll ask you at this point, and then maybe we'll catch a couple more at the tour, is I understand that you hold a world record, Larry. It's, again, a little research. Can you tell us a little about what is this record of yours?
It's being part of the largest free fall formation, which was 300 people.
Oh my goodness. We'll join Larry and we'll take a tour of this wonderful facility.
This is where you'll sit and you'll watch a video such as this one right here, and it actually explains all about the skydive that you're getting ready to make. The guy that you're looking at there, his name is Bill Booth. He's the one that invented tandem parachute jumping, and he explains what it's all about, the risk involved and the thrills that you should expect.
Certainly. Now you've said that he's invented tandem parachute jumping. So what's the other option that we typically see?
The other way is called accelerated free fall, AFF. Okay. That is when you, Greg, are wearing the parachute yourself. You'll spend about 5 hours training with us on a Saturday morning. Starts at 8 o'clock. Usually, depending on the size of the class, we should get done between 12:30 and 1 o'clock. And then later on that day, weather permitting, you, me, and one other instructor will go up in that airplane, 13,000 feet, and all three of us will go out the door. Only this time, at 5,000 feet, you have to deploy the parachute.
I see.
And then you fly it back.
Sounds like a great idea. What's next on the tour?
Next on the tour is we're going to go out here to the hangar, and we'll see where the plane is parked and where our equipment is located.
Great. Lead the way, please. While we're here in your hangar, what are we looking at?
This right here is our equipment that we use for tandem jumping and for accelerated free fall skydiving.
Now, I presume the larger one is for tandem jumping.
That's the one when you and I go out as a team, Greg.
Well, what's the difference between the two besides the obvious size? Is it heavier? Is it, I mean, what makes the one parachute larger? Okay,
this equipment here will carry up to 500 pounds,
okay,
which would be my weight, your weight, and the gear weight.
Okay.
This smaller rig here is only certified for 250 pounds.
Understood, understood. So you have the parachute, whether it's tandem or for free fall, and what other equipment do your jumpers need in addition to that?
Well, they would need a jumpsuit, a helmet, and a altimeter so they can tell how high they are.
Understood. Now, so do you have the helmets here close by?
Yes, they're up there on the wall.
Okay.
And they are sized appropriately, you know, because not everybody has the same size noggin.
Of course, of course. And you say altimeter.
Yes.
Is that connected to the parachute?
No, that's something that you wear on your wrist. It looks something like a clock. It goes from 1,000 feet to 12,000 feet.
Okay, okay. Okay, so you have the parachute rig, helmet, jumpsuits. Now, do you provide jumpsuits as well?
Absolutely. We have a whole selection here, and we actually change those out probably every year or so.
Great, great. So jumpsuit, parachute, helmet.
And goggles.
Goggles, of
Goggles.
course, of course.
Absolutely.
Any special pills for uneasy stomachs?
No.
Well, that's great. I'm just kidding. Well, what about the airplane itself now? I can see it in the background here. Tell us about this wonderful craft, this 750 as you described.
Okay, once again, this is called a PAC 750, and it was built in New Zealand. It can carry up to 16 jumpers up to 13,000 feet in about 9 minutes, and puts the plane back on the ground in about 13 minutes. So it's 9 up and 4 down.
Very quick, can we take a look inside?
Absolutely.
Do you ever fly yourself, or
Yes, I do. I'm a multi-commercial instrument pilot too, and when I'm not jumping, I fly the airplane. Just it's not at the same time.
Well, that's a good thing, particularly when you're jumping out of perfectly good airplanes.
Perfectly good.
As we always like to say. Well, you know, tell me a little bit about these customers of yours. I mean, first, people that are turning from one age generation to another often celebrate. Tell me about some of these people that you work with.
Okay. Our age, let's see, bracket grade goes from 18 to 90. We have actually had several, we've had 2 men and a female. The lady was 85 years old and the 2 gentlemen were 90, and they both made a successful jump, so you can too.
Well, there's hope for me yet, I suppose. But so you've had, what about are there any really special guests that you've had over the years that you'd like to share with our viewers?
Well, back a few years back, I was chosen to be part of the training team for President George Bush. I was selected to train him for his second skydive. His first skydive he did back in World War II when he had to bail out of his plane that was shot down.
Not a perfectly good aircraft.
Not a perfectly good airplane on that go around. And he felt like he hadn't done it right, so he wanted to come back and do it correctly, and he chose us to do it.
Well, that is fantastic. Any other anecdotals you'd like to share about some of your experience with your guests that you take up in the air?
Well, let's just say what happens in the airplane stays in the airplane.
Well, that I would attest to. Well, I think I think that's about all that you want to show us, or is there anything else?
I think that'll do it, except I want you to come make a jump with us.
Well, that's a wonderful idea. But before we go that far, we do want those who are approaching that next milestone to be able to find you, Larry. And we haven't mentioned anything about physically where you are, your address and that type of thing. So why don't we tell our viewers how best to get a hold of you?
Okay, we are located at Suffolk Executive Airport, or you can call us at 1-800-SKYDIVE or at 757-539-3531, or on the web at www.skydivesuffolk.com.
Great. Well, Larry, I really appreciate you giving us an opportunity and the invitation to jump someday. Maybe I'll take you up on it, since I have a few years before I get to that maximum age. But for now, well, thank you very much for the tour and your time. And when we come back, there'll be more about Suffolk today with our special business, C3 Vino. Welcome back to Suffolk Business Today. We're now in front of C3 Vino, who opened their doors officially with a ribbon cutting on August the 31st, just in time for the holiday. C3 Vino is located at 115 West Washington Street, which is located right on the corner of North Main and West Washington Street. In just a few minutes, we're going to be joined by one of the co-owners and learn about the holiday favorites that they have to offer that you're not going to want to miss. We're here at C3 Vino with co-owner Randy Withers. Thank you, Randy, for having us.
How are you?
Indeed, especially during this holiday season. We appreciate you giving us an opportunity to learn a little bit more about what you have to offer us for the season. So, C3 Vino. I think our viewers can understand what the Vino part means, but tell us about the C3. What does that mean?
Sure, it means cheese, corks, and charcuterie. So that's what C3 means.
Charcuterie. If that's not a 75-cent word, I've never heard one. Maybe a $1.25 word. Why don't we start there? Tell us about this charcuterie.
Sure, charcuterie, it started in France and Italy. It's a form of smoked and air-dried meats to preserve things throughout the winter time when there was not a lot of meats around, or it could preserve them to keep them fresh. And so now we enjoy it as a snack.
So it's just all kinds of meats, or is
typically pork or beef products that are air-dried and cured.
All right. Well, with the charcuterie that you have here, and I'm sure you have a wide variety, tell us about some of these cheeses that would go really well with some of the charcuterie that you have.
Sure, we feature cheeses from all over the world. My favorite place for cheese is Spain. Of course, we have some Virginia products out from Galax, from Meadow Creek Dairy, which was named by Wine Spectator as one of the top cheesemakers in the nation right now. We carry that here and feature it. My favorite, going back to Spain, is just it's a craft in Spain to make cheese. So you can actually feel the different areas that the cheese comes from just by the taste of it.
Now, do you sell it in, I've seen where it comes in rolls, or what types of quantities do you sell cheese?
We sell it by weight. So
we
sell our cheese by weight. We probably sell between 500 and 1,000 pounds of cheese a week out of our store. So
that's quite a bit.
We sell a lot of cheese.
Now, do you ever match cheeses with some of the meats, or are there some that go better with others?
Sure. Cheese is just like wine and food. So you always want to have a specific type of cheese to go with a special type of wine. So you want your wine to always overpower what you're eating, especially when it comes to the cheese, because if it's the opposite, you lose what you're supposed to be pairing with.
Well, now that we're right just a few days, I think your sign said we're just a few days from the holiday season, particularly for Christmas. Are there some cheeses or some meats that would complement some of the traditional meals that we might find on people's platters this holiday?
Sure. Cheese and charcuterie are engagement pieces. So what they do is make people sit down and talk before the dinner, celebration of Hanukkah or Christmas. So that's kind of a gathering point, is always the cheese or charcuterie board with the wine to complement it. So we've doing a lot of dessert cheeses this year for the after parties and after dinner. It's kind of something new that we've tried to put.
Dessert cheese. Now, what makes a cheese a dessert cheese versus one that I would just want to put on a cracker because I'm hungry or something?
Which in France, of course, there's the desserts, but the cheese is also an integral part because it finishes the meal. So what makes a dessert cheese is either it's going to have fruit or really soft and mild creamy finish in it.
That's great. Now, we've talked about some of the meats. We've talked about the cheeses. Now, I know our viewers are anxious to get to that part that's maybe going to lighten their spirits a little bit for the holiday. Tell us about your wines.
Sure. Our wines are handpicked by us in the store. So everything that comes in the store is sampled by us before we buy it. My favorite area to buy wines from is South America. With the Chilean or with the Argentine wines, you can really taste the craft and the terroir of the land in that. Of course, we feature Virginia wines, and the ones that we have here, we feel are the best that the state has to offer. We feature Afton Mountain wines, King Family Vineyards. Afton is tied into Suffolk with the Smith family. They actually own that, so we feature their wines a lot, and they're actually very good. And then, of course, we have mid-range, low-end to everyday drinking wines to the high-end vineyards that we like to carry.
Well, you know, I don't know if it's changed, but I can remember that you were supposed to drink one type of wine if it was a beef type product, and another type of wine is a fish. Is that still how you're supposed to pick your wine today?
In the traditional wine world, yes. However, in our world, we drink what we like to drink, and that's the way we sell wine. A beef tenderloin or something of that nature, you want to have a Zinfandel or a Cabernet in traditional wine thinking. We're quick to pair it with something else like a Grenache or with a Pinot Noir. It's all in preference and what you like to drink. You can drink really good wine and it not mean anything, or you can drink wine with good friends and it mean everything.
Well, what about now any dessert wines that you may have? Can you tell us a little bit about what's available in that regard?
Dessert wines are going to be your sweeter wines, your late harvest wines. We have a huge selection of Moscatos, ice wines, Dornfelders, just on and on and on. And that makes up about 30% of our business is the sweeter side of wine.
Is that right?
Yeah, and it's a great gateway to make your palate expand and explore.
Now, speaking of which, for different palates, don't you have a wine tasting event that you have? Can
we
you
do.
tell?
We do.
When is that?
Every Friday evening from 5 to 9. We select either one vineyard or one distributor to come in and feature their wines for the evening. So those tastings run from 5 to 9 right here in our store, and they're complimentary. It's our way to get people to come to downtown Suffolk and also open your palate to different things.
Oh, that's great. Now, do you have some of your charcuterie or your cheeses that go along with it?
We do a cheese and charcuterie tasting right along with our wine tasting.
Oh, that's great. Now, I couldn't help but miss your menu when I came in. Are there certain pairings that for those of us that we may know a little bit about wine or a little bit about cheese, but when you pull it all together, it may be more difficult. So are there some combinations, particularly for the holiday? If I wanted to buy that unique present for someone, might you suggest a combination that might surprise someone?
We do that all day long. So it's people, our first question is budget. It just saves us a lot of time and you a lot of time.
Okay.
And that's where we go with that. And then of course we select quality and of the wine for that price range. And we'll pair with anything that, all we need to know is 3 things that you like and we've got it covered.
All right. Well, suppose let's say I'd like a red wine because I'm a traditionalist and I'd really like to follow. I'm going to have a beef type of entree of sorts. Are there some wines that you might suggest
Sure.
for that kind of palate?
You could have, any red wine actually goes with that. But it's all about taste. So I would personally suggest something from King Family Vineyards, like a Cabernet Franc, or either a Zinfandel from the Lodi area of California to go with that. You want to match big proteins with big wines.
I see. So you have the wine tastings each Friday.
Each Friday.
Are you planning any other special events between now and Christmas? Or
Yes, we're actually doing this coming Friday, we're doing a special wine tasting. We're pairing our wines with cheesecakes from the Galloping Gourmet. And then we're doing, we've partnered with Mosaic by Hollins at the Suffolk Cultural Arts Center, started our wine dinner series. And so we really try to pull business to all business downtown and share what we do with others.
Well, that's wonderful, wonderful. Well, what else can you tell? Is there anything else you'd like to share with our visitors here? We've just got a few more weeks. I know you had mentioned just before we got started that you had a really busy weekend and some of your inventory was well purchased,
right.
I should say. It's a real nice problem to have. Anything else special you want our viewers to know about?
Sure. We would like to invite you to downtown Suffolk to experience the new energy that we all have in this area. So there's a new breed of business owner downtown, and we want you to come see it. So come see us.
Well, great. Well, I tell you, I thank you very much for the opportunity to learn a little bit more about C3 Vino. And before we go, maybe we'll take just a moment to kind of take a look around to see just the variety of wines that you have to offer, as well as cheeses and some of your charcuterie. Thank you.
So some of my favorite wines that we have in the store, one's Freak Show by Michael David Winery. It's two brothers out of the Napa area of California, well respected in the wine community, great Cabernet. It's right here. And that would pair with any type of protein meat like steak, lamb, or even portobello mushrooms. Then we're going to kind of go over to some of the Virginia wine sections that we were talking about. So this is Afton Mountain by the Smiths of Suffolk. That's actually up in the northern part of Virginia. We feature Veritas and different things. We also sell handcrafted beers that are here in the store, which are featured here, including Virginia beers, such as Nelson Creek, Bold Rock out of the Galax, Virginia area. And all of that stuff is located on our beer aisle. Of course, we have the typical Chardonnays, on and on and on about the Chardonnays that everybody loves to drink. And then just different wines. It's all about personal preference and what you like to drink.
Well, can we then move over then and talk about some of the cheeses that you have?
Sure. So the cheese case is here. This is what's left after the weekend for us. So we usually sell between 500 and 1,000 pounds of cheese a week. All of our cheese is imported from overseas. We have two sources that we buy from. Of course, the local cheeses in Virginia are made in Virginia, and we buy them direct from the dairy. And then the charcuterie is done the same way. We purchased from Spain, a really small farm that lets their hogs roam free and graze on the local forage, like hazelnuts and chestnuts, for our Serrano hams and capicolas and prosciuttos. And then the cheese selection rotates every 2 days. So some of our favorite cheeses actually come from Car Valley here in the States. Of course, we have our local gourmet items to go along with those. We feature lots of Virginia products, such as Blue Crab Bay Company, Southern Taste out of Chesapeake, Liz's Nuts out of Franklin, Virginia, and the Carriage House out of Richmond.
Well, thank you again, Randy. It's a great opportunity to come by here, particularly during the holiday, and see all of the wonderful wines and cheeses and charcuterie that you have to offer. And hopefully some of you out there in our viewer land will stop by and join Randy, and he'll introduce you to a few of his products as well. This concludes Suffolk Business Today. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Gregory Bird. And remember, love local, buy Suffolk.